Before this episode starts, I definitely just wanted to start out and say this is May December 29th, a few days after the passing of wrestling superstar legend John Huber, Luke Harper, Brodie Lee, and I just wanted to put my heartfelt condolences with his family and his friends and everyone in the business who had a real connection with him. This is directly after the episode of Monday Night Raw where guys like Xavier Woods and Drew McIntyre went out of their way, even Alexa Bliss, to send their tributes. That's the word I was looking for, tributes to Brodie Lee. So we definitely wanted to start off by saying thank you, Brodie, and definitely, like, as fans, we're going to miss you.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the Screaming Apes Podcast, Episode 1. I am your host, Johnny, followed by my co-host, also Johnny. And today we are here to talk about our top 10 matches of 2020. And it's been a ride of a year. We could talk about it like that. But we finally, on the last day of 2020, 2 days before the end of 2020, got ourselves together, and we put together an attempt at our first episode of our podcast. We both made our list, we both constructed, and I'm ready. How are you feeling about this?
Feeling pretty good. There was a lot of good this year throughout the bad, gotta say. So some very entertaining wrestling. I think both of our lists are going to shock each other and everybody else. I also just want to clarify for anybody that's confused, he's the Valvoline, I'm the Nostradamus. That's how you tell the Johnnies apart.
Yeah, we're the Johnnies. That's how you remember. Johnnies are us if you must.
So to get into this, why don't we just start with our honorable mentions? How about that?
Do you want to go first with your honorable mention?
Sure, I'll go first. All right, so I have a total of 5 honorable mentions, and I think these arguably could have been on the list, but I couldn't really find an excuse for myself to put them on my list. So my first honorable mention, rightfully so, Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee from NXT TakeOver 30. That match was way better than I ever expected it to be. I expected Pat McAfee to be, I don't want to say dog shit, but I expected him to be pretty bad. And I expected Adam Cole to carry that, but Pat McAfee definitely put on a show. He did amazing. Shocked the hell out of me. I was actually captivated by it. So definitely an honorable mention. What do you got to say about that match, man? Because that's
that match definitely missed my honorable mentions and my list, but you know it was definitely a turning point. I am a football fan more than you, so Pat McAfee was the 99 overall punter back in the day. Like, I've always been a big fan of Pat. His football commentaries are legendary. Love that man. So like to see him get in the ring, I was super stoked, and he blew away expectations, man. One of the best moonsaults on the biz, and he's only got 2 matches under his belt.
Word. Oh my god, that moonsault was pretty. It was pretty.
Yeah, that leads me to my first honorable mention. I'll tell you, and this one almost made my list, but there's already a ladder match on my list, so I was going to put this one on my honorable mentions, and that is Jimmy Uso versus John Morrison versus Kofi Kingston from WrestleMania. That was supposed to be that triple threat tag match because you know WWE loves a big multi-man like ladder match at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. But under the circumstances with the COVID restrictions, like I couldn't put this on my list for 2 reasons. 1, I already put way too many WrestleMania matches on my list, and 2, I already have another ladder match on the list. So it got bumped in the honorable mentions, but I can tell you for what those boys were given, one of the best triple threat ladder matches I've seen in a while. How would you feel about that one?
Honestly, I completely forgot about that match. I'm just going to be honest with you, but looking back at it, now that you reminded me of it, that was genuinely really good. Mm-hmm. It could have been so much better had it actually been a tag match, but like you said, COVID, and allegedly The Miz was sick. I'm not going to say with COVID because we don't know that. Yeah. But he was sick. So that's another thing that threw that out of the loop. But it was a really good match.
Without a doubt.
My next one, like yours, also comes from WrestleMania. This is one that could have been very high on the list, but because I don't feel it lived up to the expectation, I couldn't put it on the list because it was a good match, but it wasn't the greatest wrestling match ever. It was Edge versus Randy Orton. So pretty self-explanatory. It was a good cinematic-ish style match. Edge ended up getting hurt, but for what it was good. It was nowhere near as good as it could have been. They definitely had some pretty interesting spots, but I definitely thought it could have been better.
Yeah, no, I love that match. But all right, my next honorable mention though, probably an underrated one, but I have at my next honorable mention the Firefly Funhouse match. Another one of those WrestleMania matches that I couldn't just fit into my my list there, so it just missed out one of the best cinematic masterpieces I've seen WWE make, and it just missed my list.
Yeah, I absolutely love that match, but for reasons we'll find out later, I'm gonna not comment on it. But my next honorable mention was I think this is the first women's match we're mentioning now. Rhea Ripley, Charlotte for the NXT Women's Championship. That match had a lot of potential. It was very good for what it was. I really don't feel like they let Rhea shine in it. She held her own, but it should have been Rhea Ripley's breakout match. So Charlotte winning is mainly the reason it's on my honorable mentions list. It didn't have a lot of drama in it, really. So, yeah.
Yeah, it missed my honorable mentions and my list on the lone fact that Charlotte won. Yeah, no, that's just something that happened. My next honorable mention, though, War Games. War Games! The men's War Games. Like as we were talking about with Pat McAfee, Adam Cole. Just one of those things where Pat McAfee just above expectations. I liked it. Birch and Lorcan, guys I've always thought should be getting this push that they're finally getting. And, of course, the boy Pete Dunne in his second War Games match.
Pete the Fadonicus.
Yes, the guy himself in the Undisputed Era. You can never go wrong with the Undisputed Era and a steel cage. I'm sorry. Yep. The War Games is the Undisputed Era's playground, and they showed that. Just missed my list, but definitely one of the better matches of the year. And go watch it if you haven't seen it.
I agree with that. Actually, that was my next one as well, so I guess I'll just go for my last one. A little bit of an oddball pick, but Big E versus Sheamus in that Falls Count Anywhere match from SmackDown on October 9th.
That's a good one.
That was phenomenal for just an episode of SmackDown. I didn't watch any of that show except for that single match. I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, no,
it was amazing. Big E showed out. Sheamus showed out. They were just great.
Yeah, no, I forgot about that. Like you said with the Uso match that I had. It was the Uso Morrison triple threat from Mania. I forgot that happened, and I remember when it did happen. I watched it on recommendation because I don't want to say I don't always tune into SmackDown. I tune in, but sometimes I miss some matches, and I definitely went back and watched that one because it's one of the better ones. But seeing I got the last two honorable mentions, I'll just say them both real quick. One of them, the third match on my honorable mentions from WrestleMania, Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. I'm just saying, when Kevin Owens jumped off the WrestleMania sign, there was this like emotional connection that I had with that moment because it felt like everything was going to be okay and that the world was okay. In a time when everything was so bad with COVID, I watched Kevin Owens leap off the WrestleMania sign, and I remember I put on my Snapchat story the video of it, and I was like, "This feels like WrestleMania."
Yeah,
it was the Mania defining moment in my opinion. Like, definitely one of the best ones. And then my last honorable mention, though, is going to be Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. A stellar match that could be on the list, but like I said, there's just 10 spots, and it tickled my fancied, and I got tickled, but it wasn't good enough. And, you know, I limit myself to one of these individuals being on my list only once, and they're already on there in a match I thought was better. So,
All right. Yeah, I agree with both of those, actually. Those were very good honorable mentions. Owens and Rollins, I did think about that for a little bit.
That definitely was one of the first matches I put in my notes when I started making this list.
So, but yeah, on the list, we only got 10 spots. So why don't we go into those 10 spots? I guess I'll kick it off.
Go ahead.
So number 10 on my top matches of 2020. It is a heartfelt favorite of mine since I started watching wrestling. The Royal Rumble match, the men's Royal Rumble match from this year, from 2020, was great. Edge came back. Drew McIntyre won. Keith Lee showed out. Brock Lesnar was killing everybody. It was so good. It was as flawless of a Royal Rumble match as you could have possibly gotten in modern times. Excuse me. Arguably one of the greatest in the past, I want to say maybe 7 years, honestly.
Without a doubt.
I can't remember.
I'll hop in here with my number 10 pick. I have Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, Hell in a Cell I Quit match. I was saying before we started recording, I have this tendency in like match series to like the match that people seem to like not. And I remember I watched this Roman Reigns Jey Uso like Hell in a Cell match, and I was just like, wow, like the emotion, the passion, the ending with Roman Reigns just incapacitating Jimmy Uso, looking at Jey saying "quit or I'll kill your brother." Basically, this was Roman Reigns is the reason why Drew McIntyre Roman Reigns made the honorable mentions list, because I will only put him at number 10, and B will only put him on my list once. So Roman Reigns, you made the list, buddy, and I'm liking what he's doing. I'm not the biggest ooh-ah guy, but I'm liking what he's doing in 2020. Hopefully he can keep that momentum 2021.
Yeah, definitely. The new Roman is great. I'll just slightly disagree with you a little bit. I don't think that was a bad match at all. I think it's pretty on par
I don't
with
think
the
it's
other
a bad
one.
match. Obviously, it made my list, but I feel like when you look at the internet, like most people prefer the first encounter between the two.
True.
And like, I don't know, everyone was like, it just got boring. Like, I feel like we already saw this. I'm like, yeah, but he's literally about to kill his brother in the ring, and like, even though his brother's gonna die, he won't give up this title, won't give up on his cousin. It's a good match. Go watch it if you haven't.
Yeah, storytelling at its finest. So, my number 9. A lot of people might think this should be higher up, but okay, it was good, but I don't consider it even top 3 ever. The Boneyard match, AJ Styles versus The Undertaker, phenomenal. No pun intended. Phenomenal match. AJ looked amazing. The Undertaker looked the best he's ever looked. That should be his thing forever if he ever comes back. But it was just. It could have been more. I don't know. I was expecting more out of it. It didn't tickle my fancy, to use a phrase you said earlier.
Tickle fancy.
It was good, but it wasn't good enough for me.
Yeah, I definitely like that match. Number 9 on my list. We're gonna jump right back in here. The NXT North American ladder match from NXT Takeover 30. Priest, Reed, or what is it? Damian Priest, Bronson Reed, Cameron Grimes, Velveteen Dream, Johnny Gargano in a 5-way ladder match. I said on the honorable mentions list about how I already had a ladder match on my list and I couldn't put another one. I'm like, I sincerely meant I couldn't fit another ladder match on my list. And I'm a sucker for ladder matches. Jeff Hardy's been my favorite since I was a kid. So ladder matches come like butter. And when you get 5 guys who can just work together and make the ladder match seem like everything they've ever wanted. When you could just put 5 guys in the ring who are throwing everything at the ladder, at themselves, and at the title just to be champion, what more can you ask? And Cameron Grimes is honestly one of the most underrated NXT guys in my opinion. He's definitely in a good spot right now, but he should be, boosting up there. He should definitely, in my opinion, I want him to win this match. But Gargano, like always, Priest and Reed. I love Bronson Reed. People tell me I look like him. So I actually had some buddies in my room when I was watching this match, and they were like, "Yo, why is John on the top of a ladder?" So definitely made my list and one of my favorite matches of the year.
I actually didn't like that match at all. I'll be completely honest.
Wow.
I really didn't. Yeah, no, it's surprising to me too. Didn't like that match at all. I thought the people in it were great, but the quality of the match was not something I dug. I also thought Bronson Reed should have won.
Mm-hmm.
But.
Oh, the fucking and you bleep me or edit that out. But the part where Bronson Reed has Candice LeRae on his back and he leaps off the ladder with the splash, like that's. I'm a moments guy, and that's basically what pushed this up my list. It was a great match, in my opinion. I just love fast-paced ladder action.
That was kind of the only moment the match had, though, in my opinion. That was the only thing I remember from it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so my number 8, following up on the cinematic stuff, and it was one of your honorable mentions, and I was actually kind of shocked at that. The Firefly Funhouse match.
Mm-hmm.
That was the match of WrestleMania for me. It would have been my number 1 had all of the other matches I have after this not happened.
Well, yeah.
But the Firefly Funhouse masterclass in storytelling from beginning to end, it was perfect. Bray and Cena told the best possible story they could have ever told. Minimal action, but it didn't need any real action. And then we also got Muscle Man Cena, whatever they called him. I forgot what it was, but it was great. Johnny Large Meat.
Johnny Large Meat.
We got that. We got NWO Cena in it. We had Eater of Worldbray in it. It was just so good. You could write a novel off of that match. I sound like a mark, but it was great.
Up until I looked at my list and saw there were 5 WrestleMania matches, the Firefly Funhouse was in my top 5. It was. But the 2 matches that I have on... Wait, what was it, 2? Yeah, the 2 matches I have on here from WrestleMania, I definitely preferred more than the Firefly Funhouse match. Did I say Firefly? Firefly Funhouse match.
You got it.
And without a doubt, it was a great match. I definitely didn't allude to that earlier because I wanted to give you your time to talk about it, but I loved it. It's not like I hated it. Like the NWO spot where they alluded to like Hogan and Cena being together, like him coming out in like the prototype gear from beginning to end. I love the storytelling. It's the cinematic masterpiece of wrestling. Don't get me wrong. It just got bumped off my list, so definitely a good one. My number 8, though, getting right into that, is probably the like wild card on my list. The only one on this like list, other than like the one that you didn't like of the ladder match, where it's like how, and that is Seth Rollins versus Dominic Mysterio from SummerSlam. I
can't disagree.
Loved that match, and I've been like before Jeff Hardy was my favorite wrestler. Rey Mysterio was my favorite wrestler. Like every little kid loves Rey Mysterio. And the fact that they brought Dominic like straight in as like he's still young, he's so hungry, and they put him in with Seth Rollins, like, and they just go at it in this kid's first ever pay-per-view match. Like he shows up, and I have to give credit where credit is due. It had me on the corner of my seat. It was definitely one of those matches that emotionally drew me in, and it wasn't one of those matches I looked at on paper and I was like, oh, I'm gonna love that. But yeah. Dominic. Definitely, if I had to give like an award out for best rookie performance, I'd give it to Dominic over Pat McAfee.
Absolutely,
and he showed out, and that's definitely my number 8.
Yep, part of that is to lend to like Mysterio's training.
I'll come out right now and tell you my number 7 pick, because my number 7 pick is the Men's Royal Rumble match, and it was already on your list. I just wanted to like add Edge is my favorite. Like I've already said that 3 times, but Jeff Hardy, Edge, Mysterio, like all the boys, all the childhood heroes. I had just started liking Edge after Shawn Michaels retired, and next year Edge retires, and I remember it was one of those things where I was so sad when he retired, and I listened to the ENC podcast religiously when they started that, and I always showed up for Edge because Edge was always one of my favorites. If you go to my Facebook, and from 2011, I have the WWE Universe Thanks Edge profile picture. That's how OG I am. So when I saw him come back, I remember, like, even though it was on the rumor mill, I never thought it was possible. And when he showed up, I stood up, and I was so happy. I haven't popped that hard in a long time, and that's why it's my number 7. Also, in my notes here, I have Dick Kickache, so whatever that means.
Dick Kickache, oh my god.
So whatever that means.
Ricochet is the reason McIntyre got over.
Exactly. And what do they do? What do they show my boy? Like, what do they show my boy for that? Where's Ricochet at now? Like, come on, bro.
About to join Retribution.
Yeah, right.
All right, so my number 7 is I feel like it's a deserving spot on this list because it was, I think it was short, but it was sweet. Keith Lee versus Adam Cole in the winner-take-all match at the Great American Bash for both the NXT and the North American Championship. That match was fucking great. It was a very fast match, which I think kind of hindered it. Like, I think they could have gone longer because it kind of made Adam Cole look like a little bit of a bitch. The fact that match was so short.
Just a little.
Yeah.
But when you're coming off a reign like that.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. Like, they could have easily done like a fucking hour classic. Mm-hmm. But Keith Lee and Adam Cole tore the fucking house down. Match, that was a 2-night pay-per-view, right? Or 2-week pay-per-view.
I think so, yeah.
I believe. That was the match of that pay-per-view. It was, nothing can beat it. I don't think really most matches during the year in terms of quality could beat it, but its length hindered it.
Well, that's going to lead me right into my number 6 pick, which is Keith Lee versus Adam Cole, Great American Bash, winner take all. And it's one of my picks. It was one of those picks that when I was making this list, it just when I was looking at like I don't want to I was like looking at what other people were saying their favorite matches were because and I didn't see this one a lot. And I was like, this was one of my favorites personally. Keith Lee, like a big man loves a big man, but like Keith Lee does things on the next level. Adam Cole is a great guy, great worker, so I love it. The only thing that I like in my notes, I just have big loss. Like Adam Cole just got like it was a big loss for Adam Cole, big win for Keith Lee when they definitely could have had it been like a good loss instead of a big loss. And the only thing that hinders it to my number 6 spot is also that Keith Lee only had it for one more title defense, so that also hindered it. So short match, but worked out great. Definitely is one of my lists. It's just when you look at those names, what could have been, it easily could have been a number 1 hat with the circumstances, without a doubt.
Absolutely. All right, so I guess here comes my wild card sort of left field pick, but it was a phenomenal match. Arguably the match of Survivor Series, in my opinion. The New Day, specifically Xavier and Kofi, against the Street Profits.
That's a good pick.
That was fucking amazing.
Great match.
I was so into that match. All 4 of those men are some of the best of this or any generation. Mm-hmm. Montez Ford's Frog Splash is killer.
he's such a rising star. He has so much potential.
Absolutely.
He's going places.
Future world champion, definitely. I can totally see that happening one day.
Mm-hmm, without a doubt. I that match didn't make my honorable mentions or my list, but it's I'm glad it's getting the recognition because it was I'm a sucker for a good tag team match, and I didn't get a whole lot this year. Like we didn't get any like last year, the year before, when they were just like this 2-year spree with Undisputed Era would open every NXT takeover with the best tag team match you've ever seen. I missed that. Like I just missed those days. I just missed that. And that match was one of those ones that just like tag team wrestling.
Needs more recognition.
Without a doubt. On to my number 5 though, and a match that I definitely am excited to see again soon, and that's Finn Balor versus Kyle O'Reilly at TakeOver 31. And I'll tell you why. The first 5 minutes was this intense indie grappling fest. The next 5 minutes, the next 10 minutes, this slow, methodical pick down of Kyle O'Reilly, who is the best seller I've seen to this day. Picked him down. There was so much passion in both men's face. The scene, I'm gonna talk all the time about moments. The scene of Kyle O'Reilly with the blood in his mouth, just screaming and not giving up his title shot, one of the greatest things. Mm-hmm. And the fact that there was, I love this Prince thing where Finn Balor just avoids the coup de grace. Like, there's points in the match where he's like, oh, I got to do it to win. And then he doesn't do it, and you're like, well, he's going to do it and win. But it was, after that, it was just one of those moments. And it, with the Kyle O'Reilly bleeding mouth, the Finn Balor just insanely just couldn't get this man down. Kyle O'Reilly, like I said earlier, with that Undisputed Era chain where they're just putting on the best matches you've ever seen. This Kyle O'Reilly, man, just bumps.
Amazing.
He just bumps like nobody else, and everybody can say that over and over and over again because he's really one of the greatest workers that we got, ever. And he's just so good at taking people's moves. Top 5. It is number 5. There you go.
Okay, that's a solid number 5 pick. But my number 5 pick, I feel like it's a great way to start off the top 5 for me, is the NXT Women's War Games match.
War Games!
Team Candice versus Team Shotzi. That's my number 5. I love that match. I thought it was leaps and bounds better than the men's match, although it was hard for me to decide between them. But the deciding factor of it was solely Io Shirai jumping off the cage in a trash can. Because like you said, you're talking about moments. That was a fucking moment. The pictures from that, the video from that will live on forever. It was great. Everybody in that looked amazing. I believe, what's her name? Dakota Kai's Heavy, Raquel. Is that the name she's going by right now?
Yeah.
Raquel, yeah. She looked great. I never really liked her before that match, in terms of her in-ring work. She was great.
Yeah, she shined out. It was the I was gonna say the only critique that I had with that match that put the men's over, in my opinion, was I thought it was great storytelling with the whole locking Io out of the cage and she comes down with the trash can. It was a really good match all in all. There was just something. It was like Pat McAfee going off the cage, the tables with Undisputed Era's names on them, like definitely just screamed original like pro wrestling. And I'm not knocking the women's match. It definitely knocked my socks off. And maybe it was like the fact that it was earlier in the card that definitely like put it in the back of my memory and maybe hindered it a little bit. But they showed up, they showed out, and they definitely put. I love Dakota Kai. You know that we love Dakota Kai. Like she's great. Like Candice LeRae, great. Like the Indy Hartwell stuff was great. That match was awesome. And like this is another one of those matches that like just missed my list of my honorable mentions, and I'm glad it's getting recognition because it was so good, so good. All right, my number 4. Edge and Orton Last Man Standing. This is one of those things where I always say that I like the worst version of the match that everyone else always likes, like the greatest wrestling match ever. First of all, that's why it didn't make my list. You named it the greatest wrestling match ever. Yeah. Second of all, I thought there was better storytelling in the first one. Don't give me like the fact that it was called the greatest wrestling match ever, and you could tell Edge and Orton were doing their best to make it the greatest wrestling match ever, and it spanned eras, like every bit of the wrestling span, and it is a good masterpiece. But in my opinion, that like the Last Man Standing was a brawl. It was like the cinematic parts, like Edge jumping off the ladder. I remember reading a live tweet where Beth Phoenix was like, "Oh, and when he left the house, he told me he wasn't doing any ladder spots." And then she sees live on WrestleMania, he does a ladder spot, and then the match ends on top of a production truck with a concerto. Come on, that match made my list. It was one of my best. Like I said earlier, with Edge being one of my favorites, Orton having arguably one of the best years he's had in the last like 5. And he only made my list this one time.
All right, so my number 4. I feel like this match got slept on by a lot of people because it was great. I saw Twitter exploding about it, but I didn't see a lot of talk besides Twitter. Sami Zayn, Jeff Hardy, and AJ for the IC Championship at Clash of Champions, I think it was at.
Mm-hmm.
That match was great. The ending of it was so creative.
Crazy.
So fucking creative. Sami Zayn handcuffing AJ to the thing. Fucking Hardy's ladder. Hardy's gauge hold with the ladder attached to it. Holy shit, that was good. And it made Sami Zayn look like an evil tyrant.
Yeah.
So good. I cannot stress that enough. It was... Sami Zayn looked amazing. Jeff was Jeff jumping off it. AJ looked amazing. It was great.
Yeah, that match was really good. I'll jump in here with my number 3. And one that you slandered yet put on the list. It's the Boneyard match. I love the Boneyard match. Like I said, I'm a sucker for the moments. The only thing that puts this at number 3 and not number 1 is the spot with the Druids. That is the only reason it is not number 1. Stupid. Like if anything, Druids coming, like a Druid just spearing fucking like the Good Brothers and then revealing that it's Roman Reigns would have been hilarious and a good nod. That would have been dope. Like, because that was when he was out, even though that would have been really hard.
I was expecting it to be Kane.
Yeah, like anything. Like a Druid on the Undertaker's side. Also, maybe having like somebody like of AJ Styles past attack the Undertaker, not faceless trainers from the PC. That was really my only fault, though. Like I loved all the spots. I love the spot with the tractor where he like comes out of the grave and the light comes on. He's behind him. The choke slam off the barn. The tombstone on the barn. The fire when AJ is running. Like made the Undertaker again after demeaning him to Mark Calloway in the lead up. And my number 3, definitely one of the best matches of the year. And when you get AJ Styles and the Phenom and the Phenomenal One, like it sells. It would have been great to see in a ring, but given the circumstances, I think that's better than what would have happened in the ring.
Yeah, I agree with that. But my number 3 is one that you already mentioned. I think it was your number 5 or 6. Balor versus O'Reilly.
That was 5.
5. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my number 3, and it's basically for all the same reasons you said, but also Kyle O'Reilly lost teeth. Finn Balor broke his jaw. That, and I'm a huge fan of Finn Balor, you know that. Mm-hmm. And Kyle O'Reilly is my favorite member of the Undisputed Era, which is very hard for me to say because Adam Cole is in the Undisputed Era. But that was probably the perfect NXT Championship match. I don't think there has been a better NXT Championship match.
Yeah, definitely. I talked about it earlier. Definitely one of the best ones. Like I said, I rewatched it the other day when I was making the first notes on my list, and it was so good. So good. And it's one of those matches where even though when you're rewatching you know who wins, you're still like, come on, Kyle. Come on, Kyle.
On the edge of your
you're
seat.
you're like, come on. Like, history changed. Like, it's going to change this one time I watch. It's great. Definitely. But it's time. There's only 2 matches for each of us left. 4 matches left total.
Hold on. I'm gonna hazard a guess that I feel like, because I don't know. I don't think you mentioned it yet. I think our number 2s are the same.
It probably is because we both mentioned how it wasn't our number 1s. So number 2, Ilya Dragunov versus Walter. NXT UK. Oh my God! Like I said, when I was rewatching matches when I was making this list, and that one, I don't regularly watch NXT UK, so when I was watching matches to make my list, it was the first time I've seen this match. I'm not gonna lie, and it made the top 5 from the opening moment. Like the moment that Dragunov came out the gate, hit the uppercut, Walter just and they just started battering each other. Like when I've peeked a couple of Dragunov spots in matches, like moments and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I know like how he's built, and like just watch him getting torn apart by Walter, but still fighting, and like the way he sells like Russians, man, like the way this man sells is just crazy because he just looks like he's in so much pain, but he's keeping it all inside. He's just this raging monster, and Walter is a raging monster, and you can't get better than Walter. Like I said, I got a big spot for big men, and that was a masterpiece.
It was great in every sense of the word. There was nothing wrong with that match at all. Both competitors shined like a motherfucker. Ilya Dragunov. There's something about Ilya Dragunov. I don't know what, but he just. I'm pretty sure you'll agree. He has it. He's going to be something great in the future, and not just in NXT UK or NXT, but like in WWE as a whole, in the industry. This guy is going to be something huge.
I'm definitely a guy with like friends that don't watch wrestling, and I'm always looking for a match like this to show people that don't like wrestling. Like this is one of those like real fight matches that just seems like 2 men scratching, clawing their way to like put one of the other men to sleep. And one of my notes here I have down here just says the ball suplex. So that if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a spot in the match where Ilya Dragunov just has a handful of Walter's balls and just German suplexes him. It's so satisfying. Like seeing a 190-pound, like 5'10", like he's probably 6'2", but Walter makes him look 5'11". Like you just see him launch this dude. Like one of the greatest matches. So I'll get to my number 1 first real quick because you've already said it, and it definitely, when I started this list, I said ladder matches were prominent. Ladder matches are my favorite. So my number 1 is AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, and of course Jeff Hardy, triple threat Intercontinental Championship ladder match at Clash of Champions. So good. So good. It was the only match I actually tuned in for on Clash of Champions. Like I was watching Twitter, and when I saw I was up next, I tuned in. Because I love Jeff Hardy, I love ladder matches, and I knew what was going to happen. And first of all, you got the Jeff Hardy spot. When you have Jeff Hardy, like, I love that it's off the top of the Thunderdome. Like, Jeff Hardy from the top of the ladder to the announce table is just classic. AJ Styles doing AJ Styles thing, and there's just one like insane spot that you probably haven't rewatched it. There's like Sami Zayn gets Irish whipped into the corner. He bounces off the ladder into the ropes, off the ropes back into the ladder on his head, and then rolls into the ring. And it's just insane. Like, oh my God, Sami Zayn bounced. Oh, this is just so good. They're all so good. And it the ending, like you talk about with the handcuffs and Sami Zayn having the key in his mouth, locking AJ Styles to the ladder, and the picture, I want to give him Jeff Hardy just carrying the ladder around this guy into his ear. He's just walking around like this with a ladder in his hands. Classic, best match of the year in my opinion. Just something that just gets to my inner child. A triple threat ladder match with some of my favorites.
Something else I need to mention about the ladder match that neither of us said. The most evil part of that match from Zayn was after he had already won. Him and AJ are on the top of the ladder. He puts the key right on the top rung. AJ reaches for it. Zayn just swats that shit off and just laughs in his face.
I didn't even peep that. I just rewatched it, and I didn't even see that.
Oh my! It's right at the end after he already pulled the belt on. That was the most evil thing. That was it was icing on the cake for the match.
Yeah, and of course the big moment at the end with Sami Zayn has the titles, and he looks at Charlie and he goes, "And still Intercontinental Champion." Like Sami Zayn's a miracle, man. We're blessed to have Sami Zayn.
One of the greatest of this generation, hands down. Love him. All right, so my number one is not one on your list, but it is one you mentioned earlier because it's basically another one on your list. I feel like not only is this match of the year, it'll probably be the match of the next like fucking 5. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, Universal Championship at Clash of Champions. Their first match. It was uncomfortable. That's how good it was. That's how authentic it was. It wasn't a match between two competitors. It was a family member brutally beating down another family member into submission. He looked like a monster. Roman Reigns looked like a monster, and Jey Uso looked like a little cat that just got attacked by a bear. Like, it was insane. It was a spectacle. There was nothing better about 2020 than that match, and then Roman Reigns in general.
I definitely mentioned I do have a personal disdain for Roman Reigns, but he definitely delivered in both those matches. And like I said, the Hell in a Cell I Quit match made my list because like I'm a sucker for Hell in a Cell 1. 2, I told you how I just have a routine. It's not like I'm purposely doing it. I always just end up liking the worst match in the internet's opinion. So they definitely had one of the rivalries of the year, and without a doubt, it's like definitely deserved a spot. And like I said, it's one of those matches. I'm glad it got the recognition it deserves because it's not like I don't like the match. I just prefer Hell in a Cell. The I Quit match, Jimmy Uso's involvement definitely like tickled my fancy, but without a doubt, it's a good number one pick. It was a good match with all around, and I'm definitely happy with both of our lists. Now you, the people at home, know what we think the 10 best matches of 2020 are. 15 if you count honorable mentions. So we hope you enjoyed. We've been the Screaming Apes. Thanks for coming to the Enclosure, and we'll have to see you boys next time.
Toodaloo.
Peace.